What is poppin', ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing? This is game 3 in this past weekend's match on Friday, and we're playing up against a very friendly face here at this channel, and that is Cole. He's a Zoro player, very consistent. He and I usually tend to meet in Top Cut, but we are not in Top Cut yet. So we are about to play just a best of 1 match this time, not a best of 3. And you know, Zoro is a very scary deck to play against, but I usually feel fairly confident against Zoro. It's just, you know, sometimes the matchup can be, you know, pretty tough depending on what they draw into. And yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and roll for it. I got a 6 and it looks like he got a 9, so he does choose to go for going first, and I got second. So definitely always want to try and go first against Zoro in this matchup, but it's not too bad, I guess. And I didn't mind my hand, but it wasn't that great. I only had like a few options early on, and if I don't have anything to deal with Zoro's aggression early on in the game, it can be extremely difficult to come back. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a little mulligan real fast, see if we get something a little more useful. And it looks like we picked up I remember this game so vividly now. I picked up 3 Marcos on my starting hand. I also got Nami, so I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a match right here. And I will go ahead and throw down Nami though, and just see if I can find like Nico Robin or potentially something that can, you know, do me some justice. We do pick up Zoro just because Zoro helps us be able to get rid of some of those swingers that he has. And for 3 Dawn now, he will swing for 5. I'm gonna go ahead and take that first one, and guess what? We drew our 4th Marco. We've got all 4. Feeling pretty good about it, I guess. But I mean, it's not that bad. It's just that Marco isn't really that useful until later on. I can put him down early and then he just gets jet pistoled. Doesn't feel great, but I'll go ahead and swing for 5 at life, see if he'll counter out or if he'll take. He does choose to take that one. And yeah, now I've got some choices. What do I do in dealing with this Nico Robin? I will go ahead and just put down the Marco, just because we do have 3 others in hand. Why not, you know? If we lose it, it's okay. He had to target it. And yeah, I know that with 5 Dawn, he's got some options. He can, you know, put down some of those 1-drops. He hasn't played any searchers yet, which is pretty surprising. I usually end up playing against Cole and he'll have like Nami, or he'll have Curly to Dawn early on, and I'm just like, oh god, here we go. The board's starting to get a little wider. But he will choose to go 5 at life here, and I do take. And now I think with 4 Dawn, he's like, okay, let's swing with leader first. And now with the leader swing coming out, I'm kind of thinking to myself, all right, maybe he's not going to use you know, some of the like higher costs like Zoro, or you know, potentially like another Nico Robin or something like that. Seems like I might be looking at like another 1 or 2 drops coming down, so I don't see any rush coming out in the future. And there it is. Yep, just a lot of those you know, low cost going wide parts of his deck in there. We're in a pretty weird spot. I've got a lot of 2K counters in hand, not a lot of, like, I would say very useful cards. I will go 5 at Nico Robin though, see if he does counter out, and he does choose to 2K counter here. I think we're probably just going to play the Nami, hopefully find like a jet pistol or something, but still not enjoying where we're at situationally. And there is Nami. Yep, I think that, okay, so we do find a Nico Robin, and yeah, Nico's gonna have to be the choice here. But dealing with the, you know, his own Nico Robin that he has is pretty annoying, especially because I do have the Marco to be able to swing with, but then I'm leaving myself with, you know, a wide open board state. And so I guess I'm just gonna go with Luffy here, swing for the Robin, take it out. And yeah, not terrible, but Now we've got a lot of pretty annoying cards to deal with. I didn't want to use the Luffy super early, but it looks like I kind of had to. I was kind of forced in that position. But yeah, he's got the Gordon to lower my Luffy if he really needs to, and 5 Dawn remaining after putting one underneath Gordon, or excuse me, one underneath Leader for the ability. But he does choose to go, I think this is 5 at life here. So I could just take and go down to 2 life, and then, yep, and then I have Marco ability if needed. So that does seem to be a little helpful. And now he is going to use Gordon ability on Luffy. Oh, I think he meant to put Gordon at the bottom of the deck. Not that it really matters. I guess it would matter if he used like Uta or something like that, but I think that Gordon meant to go to the bottom of the deck. Either way, not a big deal, and I'll let the 5-drop Luffy go. Yep. And now he does still have 4 Dawn left, but with some of these low-cost cards being rested, I do feel pretty good being able to swing with Nami, and then potentially getting Nico Robin down next turn while we try and prep for having like 9-drop Newgate. But Newgate is not to be found in the hand just yet, and he does Jet Pistol the Marco. I now have 2 life, so I can choose to bring it back if I want to. He does still have Leader swing, so I would have to 2k counter out of that, but I am going to go ahead and bring it back, and I'm just deciding what card I want to trash in order to keep it alive, because I do have some Jozus for 2k counters, but I also I choose to just get rid of one of the Marcos and then counter out with Sanji. I think that saving the 2k counters were probably going to be in my best interest, simply because I don't really like how my hand is right now. It's not like a terrible draw, but it's just not exactly where I want it to be. And I do choose to go for 5 at Sunny Kun. I'm going to use Leader ability and then go 3 at Dodon, and he is going to let that die. So I feel a little bit better now having the board cleared. And so now I can start swinging with 5 or maybe even 6 with Leader, and then put down another Marco if I want, because I think we have 1 more Marco remaining. Yeah, so I am just going to choose to go for 6 here, and he'll counter out with Makino and stay at 4. And then I'll just use Nico Robin and pass turn. I think I'm baiting here that I have Radical Beam, because I don't think I've picked one up yet. Yeah, it looks as though we just have like Sanji, Jozu, a couple other options. And yeah, he puts down his Newgate though, going up to 7. I tried to start using the dice to remind myself that we're at 7. And it's kind of hilarious that next turn, this next turn, I actually swing for 5 for forgetting that he's at 7 even after I put the dice on. Like, I don't even know how you can make that bad of a call. But he was like, you know I'm at 7, right? Like, you just gave me a dice. And yeah. Then I realized, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. Okay. That's embarrassing. So yeah, I am just gonna go ahead and you know, kind of align some of these Dawn. Like, what is it that I want to get done this turn? Do I want to get a life or 2 away? He doesn't have a lot of resources in hand, so I am gonna swing for 7 to give them the opportunity to counter out. And I'll probably do like 7 with Leader as well. But yeah, this is a bit of a weird one. I know that we definitely want to slap down that second Marco at the moment, but I just have like a weird amount of Dawn. I really do. I just have a very strange amount of Dawn. I don't have exactly what I was looking for. And he does counter out with Sunny Kun to, you know, keep that 3rd life, but I think we're just probably going to play Marco and then use the remaining 3 on Nico Robin just to swing for 7 again. I'm trying to get him within KO range now that we've got like a pretty substantial board. And I am going to do that. I'm going to put 3 underneath Nico. We'll go 7 at life one more time. And it's good for me in this position because I know that the only card that he can KO from my board with Newgate is Nami at the current moment. So if he does counter out of this, it could potentially force like an Otama. It could potentially force, you know, some of those cards that could bring down a Marco within KO range of Newgate. And he does use Vista. And then I'll just go ahead and pass over. But it's kind of a good position that we're in. you know, having the Marco, but we don't have any active Dawn. We haven't drawn 9-drop ourselves. We don't have Radical Beam. So it is still a little bit weary, simply because he could just throw down a couple of rush cards and start going for Zoro. He could start going for Nico Robin, and not that I really need the Nico, but just having some of these cards out saves me from having to use the Marcos for a swing. And I have already trashed my other 2 Marcos, so yeah, I mean, we've only got these 2 at the moment. I know that I have a limited amount of counter ability in hand at the moment, so I think that I've got, what, like a Sanji? No, maybe like 2 Sanjis and like a Jozu or something. So a couple of 2Ks, but still kind of a odd position to be in. But he does, oh, little, yeah, he's thinking about it. A little bang on the table moves the camera a little bit. But yeah, this is where I probably will eventually get I'll work myself into getting like a nice tripod for the videos so that they're very stable. But it also does hinder people from like walking by some of the tables. I don't want to be a nuisance to anybody, just trying to be, you know, as courteous as I can while recording these matches, because they're nice enough to let me record. Definitely don't want to, you know, have anybody be like, oh, you know, hey, what the heck, I got this massive tripod in my way. So 9 Dawn left. Could be another Newgate. Doubtful though if he's swinging with leader beforehand, but it could just be a bait into me not knowing what he's going to do with the rest of the Dawn, especially since he still has a Newgate swing coming through. He does choose to go 6 at Nico Robin here. I do let her go, which is a bit unfortunate, but kind of had to be done in the moment. And yeah, I think what I want to do is probably let him swing with Newgate at Zoro. Probably just let a Marco die, bring it back using, you know, its ability, and then see if he has a rush card. If he has a rush card, let the other Marco die, and then pray that he doesn't have a second rush card. So that's kind of where, you know, it's going to come down to what he has in hand, but I know he's only got about 4 cards to work with. I haven't seen a single rush card, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, he did he play Zoro one turn? I'm actually forgetting now. But I don't think I've seen a single rush card, but there it is. There is one Zoro right there. So he does have the opportunity to swing for 6, or he could swing for 7, and it does look like he's going to go for 6 here at my Zoro. I'm most definitely going to be 2K countering out of this. Just going to use Sanji, and yeah, just bring him up to 7. Yep. And now he does have some other Dawn to work with, and it looks as though it's going to be 2 on Newgate, KOing Nami, swinging at Zoro. I don't know if I just let the Zoro die here. If I do, I feel like I messed up. Yeah, it does look like we choose to use the Marco. Okay, perfect. I was about to be very disappointed in myself, but I do trash a Kingdu, and he jet pistols the Zoro though. Kind of sad about that. I tell you what. Knowing that he had 4 Dawn left, I was considering that he was probably going to do another 7K swing, was my thought process, since I hadn't seen a lot of the rush cards yet. So I was thinking, okay, we'll probably end up seeing another Zoro here come out, but looks like that wasn't the case. And I know that dealing with Newgate is going to be kind of tough. Having the Zoro on board isn't the scariest thing in the world, but it also does force me to use a Marco next turn, or to potentially end up like wasting counter cards when I don't want to. I think at this point it would have been really nice if I had drawn Newgate just a little bit earlier, so that I had something to answer his Newgate with. But I do swing for 5 at Zoro just to see what he does, and he does let it go. So that gives me a little bit of information that he's either trying to protect Newgate pretty strong, or he's trying to, or he just doesn't have the counter cards in hand, so he does have a lot of rush. And now, honest to God, I really just have to play around. Yeah, hopefully him not having enough, but I will go for, I think it's 12 here. Yeah, it looks like it was 12, and I do kill off the Newgate, but yeah, I like the position. I'm just a little scared being at 1 life. I don't think that I have Radical Beam yet. I'm still just kind of like baiting my opponent into thinking that I do. But, oh man, it's tough. And I feel as though at the end of this game, I do make a little bit of a costly mistake if I remember correctly. And I love these. I love looking back at these matches though. I personally break them down to where I'm looking over how I played the game and which ways I could have played it better, or which ways I think that, you know, the process should have went. And I don't know why. It's so interesting, and I don't know if any of you can relate to me on this, but I really feel as though when I'm in a game, I genuinely feel like I play differently than when I'm looking at a game. But I guess it does make sense considering the fact that when I'm looking at it, I do kind of have more answers in my head. I can see a lot more of the board state, what he has in hand potentially. Another thing that I'm not super fond of is that a lot of the times I will end up going, I don't know, just a little too defensive when I should be going pretty aggressive against some of these decks. Like, I get a little scared. But then there's also moments where I get a little too defensive and, a little too offensive, and I should have played, you know, slightly defensive. And I think this ended up being one of those moments, is I got a little scared. My opponent has used all the cards in his hand. I have 2 Marcos on board. I've got 10 Dawn to work with, and I'm looking at this going, okay, I can either go for lethal, or I can KO this Luffy and he'll have no cards in hand. I swing once at life, and then from there I can start really positioning myself for lethal next turn. I don't know. I thought about it though, and I went, oh, you know what? I think I kind of have to try and go for lethal, and it's just such a shame. I do go for 5 at life with Marco. He has to take the first hit, right? And now I'm like, do I go for 7? I do go for 7 with Marco. He's gonna have to take the next hit. Okay, I put down Zoro, and I will use 8 at life. He will take that last hit, and I go 8 with leader, and he does 2k counter, or with 2k counters with Otama. So he just got the life that he needed. But it's unfortunate that I think if I had just put down the Zoro, swung at the 5-drop, and then just went 1 more tap at life, pass turn, I can't see how he'd be able to get through 2 Marcos and me having 1 life still left. I don't know. I think I got a little scared in the moment, but it was a lesson learned. I had position, I had the ability to do it, and it was a great game though. But I love these matches with Cole because I always end up learning something in the Zoro matchup, because I don't know, some of these games go really well, or they go very poorly, or I make a mistake that can be a little costly. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one tomorrow, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.